What's up, you guys? It's Frank the Tank, and welcome to week number 21 of this Winter League. So, check this out. Week 20, last week, I bowled a 684 series. And one of the things that I really felt contributed to that was my ability to observe ball motion. Now, backtrack all the way to December 2022, I bowled a tournament called the Morgan Hill Masters Tour, and that was on a challenge pattern, and it was the first time ever that I had bowled on a challenge pattern. And it was there that I really felt that my ability to observe ball motion improved there. And before that tournament, I always felt like my ball observation skills were pretty good, but after that tournament had concluded, I looked back on it and realized my ball observation skills before that tournament were not as good as I thought they were, because during that tournament, my level of focus kicked into another level that I didn't know I had, because the thought of being on a challenge pattern had me nervous, but at the same time, I felt the need to really buckle down and focus, because, the challenge patterns, you have to be a lot more accurate. The space to make errors is a lot smaller compared to house shots. So it was right there during that tournament that I started noticing things that I didn't notice before. So like I said, that's when I looked back on that and realized, wow, my ball observation skills before the tournament were not as good. And then after this tournament, I felt like they'd gotten a lot better. So fast forward all the way to week number 19, and I basically went in with a completely blank mind. I was 0% because I had failed to use that ability to observe ball motion. That among other things, and it cost me because I only bowled like a 400 and something series, and my average went from like 201 down to 199. So it really cost me. And I realized then and there what I failed to do, what I could have done. And so a couple days later, I went to the lanes and I practiced and brushed up on that skill, that ability to observe ball motion. And I felt pretty good after the practice session, and I felt like everything was back together again. And so week number 20 came along, and it definitely showed, because I bowled the 684 series. And now going to week number 21, I feel way better, because not only do I feel like I can observe ball motion just as good as I did in that Morgan Hill Masters Tour and at week 20, but now I feel like I can use that ball observation thing to help me execute shots now. So it's weird how one thing can lead to improvement on another thing, but that happens to us, right? When you try to practice one thing, it helps improve on another thing. So now the question is, can I capitalize, or will I fall through the cracks, and I'm back to square one? We're gonna find that out right now. So let's roll the clip. You guys, here we go, week number 21. How will we do after that 684 from last week? Are we going to be able to capitalize and build off of that, or have we lost it and are back to square one? We're going to find that out. And after the 10 minutes of practice, I tried whatever it is that I had, and the thing that kind of clicked for me was the fate. So I lined up on board 21 on the right lane, and we're on 3 and 4. Already off to a great start. Great form at the foul line. Great shot. That's how we want to start. All right, now on the left lane with the fate as well. And unfortunately, I got that one left all the way down, and I end up leaving the 3-6-10. Okay, so a strike and a 7 spare is how we're going to begin this. And one thing I totally just remembered was several times, I believe with the Fate, I ended up like dropping the ball out onto the lane because of I wasn't able to get my fingers in all the way where I usually want to, because I know there's people out there whose fingers shrink and people whose fingers swell, like they get bigger. And unfortunately for me, mine swell, they get bigger. So yeah, here with the Fate, unfortunately, I felt like I couldn't get my fingers in all the way to where I usually get them. And as a result of that, I ended up dropping the ball several times. So I guess maybe I'll probably have to get the grips out and probably open up the holes a little more. You know, like with that bevel sander thingy that they use in the pro shops. So I'll probably have to do that. Alright, so back on the left lane after striking on the third, on the right. Not bad. And actually something that I just realized, this was actually the first shot where I actually like dropped the ball. And I felt it drop from my hand right here. I don't know how that struck, but somehow I got enough on it to get it to do what it needed to do. But it looked pretty good, so you don't really notice it. Alright, on the 5th frame now. I think we're on 3 in a row. So that's a little bit better. Form was a little funny looking, but that was a proper one. Alright, this is the 6th frame. And now we're on 4 in a row. Alright, so 7th frame on a ham bone. And that was left. Stood up on it because I knew it immediately. Alright, so check this out. Whenever I have a split like this, or something that requires me to kick the 3 over into the 7, I used to stand on 12.5 to try to, you know, get that pin on the right side of the 3 so that it would kick into the 7. It used to work, but not anymore. And I don't know why, but I remember one time I tried, I moved left and I lined up on 15, and somehow it increased the probability of me being able to place that ball perfectly to the right side of that 3 pin to get it to kick over into the 7. So I decided to try that on this night. So here I went, lined up on 15, gave that ball enough space on the right side of the lane, and it worked. So that's when I officially thought to myself, like, okay, if I want to increase the likelihood of me being able to get that ball perfectly to the right side of the 3 to kick it over, I gotta line up on 15 from now on. No more standing on 12.5. It's just not enough room for that ball. So anyway, here we go, I think on the 8th, still clean. The way that ball lined up too much it had too much time lined up to the pocket like that. Now for this right here, I remember I was standing in the wrong spot to try to pick this up. And it cost me. Alright, so check this out. Here you could definitely see that I just dropped it. Dropped. Couldn't even get a good release on it, and it went to the 3-6. Yeah, my fingers, for some reason, swelled a little bigger than normal, and I really couldn't get a good hold on the ball. So, it was cold inside the building on this night, but I don't know that I don't know if I could say with 100% certainty that contributed to why my fingers felt a lot bigger than usual and why I couldn't even get a proper hold on the Fate. Alright, so after that really cool split conversion, I ruined it with back-to-back splits, and now here we go into the 10th, and now I have some work to do if I want to get a 200 game. So I made the decision to put down the Fate because I just couldn't get a hold on the ball. My fingers swelled, man. And yeah, I tried the nuclear cell, I believe, because the holes on that ball are much more opened up, so I could definitely get a proper hold on that ball. I could get my fingers down a lot more. So I made the decision to go to that. Since we were already in the 10th frame anyway, I could just use that to experiment. Kind of a risky experiment too, though, because well, luckily it worked out right there, but if I wanted a 200 game, I definitely needed to do some work. And that's why I say it was a risky experiment, but luckily I managed to strike with that nuclear cell there. So here's the second shot. You can't really see it, but I did get it. I missed my breakpoint target, basically. I went past it and got it over here, and the ball ended up hooking late, and now I have an 8 spare opportunity. But one thing I do want to mention here was those 2 shots that I took with the nuclear cell, I watched the ball turn the corner, and it wasn't turning the corner like I normally would see it do. Like, it would turn kind of quick, and it would have a kick to it. And that kick was missing. And I thought, what the heck happened to my nuke cell? Is it dying on me or something? I don't know. But I realized I needed something that really grabs at the friction. So I was going to turn to my proton physics, and I threw it right here as a little test shot, even though it was a spare. But I saw the way it grabbed at the friction, and I thought, that's what I need for game 2. So for game 2, that's what I did. I started with the proton physics, lined up on 21.5, and this is what happened to start things off. Left. And I went Brooklyn, and all 10 down, somehow. Okay, so on the second frame, I didn't really get the ball to push out right enough. It looked close, but as you can see, went through the nose, and another split. So remember what I said about me lining up on 15 to try to increase the probability of me kicking that 3-pin over? I wasn't lying when I said that. Okay, so this shot right here, it was a little better, but it still wasn't right enough. Now I say it was a little better because this time it did make it to the pocket, but as you can see, the fact that I went high into the pocket and left the 4, it's an indication that I didn't get it right enough. Now if you want me to get a little more detailed about it, well, when the ball got down lane, it made it to, I want to say, 6, maybe the 7 board at the most, down at the break point. So in order for me to get it right enough, where is that? Well, for me to get the ball correctly to the right, it would have to be maybe the 5 board, maybe the 4 board, somewhere around that area. So the 6 or the 7, that's definitely left of my intended target. So on this shot, I believe I made an adjustment, and I tried 22.5. And that was the proper shot that I was looking for. Alright, so on this one right here, yeah, that one right there, you can't say that that was unlucky, because you could see that once again, that ball was not right enough. I was even lucky that it held. See that? That is 2 left at the break point. Like I said, I had to get it at least at the 5, maybe the 4. And then things would be okay. Alright, so on this shot, got it too far to the right. And it was at that point that I felt like I had had enough. I clearly was losing my ability to be able to execute. And I don't know what it is with me, but just having that ball in my hand made me lose my confidence. I know that sounds weird, but it's true. So like I said, I had had enough, and I decided I was just going to pick up the pitch black and just go from there. So on that one, I was on 12.5 and saw that it hooked quite a bit. So I knew exactly what to do. And I didn't even need to think twice about it. I switched over to board number 14. And I got the result I was looking for. So this shot right here, I practically sent it straight up the lane, like almost over 3rd arrow, but it went in between 2nd and 3rd arrow and somehow stayed there and hooked just a little bit to get into the pocket. Thank you, house shot. Alright, so we made it to the 10th frame, and this first shot here, I messed up on the release. And And you could clearly tell, too, no hook whatsoever. Went at the 3-6. And the last shot to close out the 10th was another one of those ones where the shot was good, but the form was not. Hopped up on it, but got it where I wanted it. Alright, so here we go with the final game of the night. And things are looking pretty good. Not nearly as good as week 20, but pretty good. So I stuck with the same game plan. Pitch black, lined up on 14 on both the left and right lane. And that shot was looking pretty good. Blew all 10 back. And that right there was one thing that led into another thing. And that was a bad release that led into a really bad shot. Alright, so on frame number 3, I leaned in too much. Messed up my form at the foul line. Let it go wrong. And I ended up with a 3-6, 9-10 to have to deal with. Okay, so for frame number 4, I let the ball go in a bad way. And as you could see, that was one of the lightest hits ever, but I got very lucky in the end. Frame number 5, great form, and a great shot. Frame number 6, good form, good shot, bartender, let's make it a double. Alright, so on this frame, frame number 7, I sent the ball a little bit left of my previous shot. As you can see, it kind of traveled a little straighter up the lane. And held to go high, but luckily I tripped the 4. Alright, so for frame number 8, form wasn't necessarily the best, but at least I struck, and I was feeling it. I was on a streak. Alright, on frame number 9, I got the ball to the right kind of early, and I ended up leaving the 9 pin as a result. And if you don't believe me, check this out. See that? It had already gotten to the right at about here. So I was actually kind of lucky that the ball held and didn't hook almost immediately and go through the nose. Sucks that it didn't strike, but you know what? I got what I deserved for getting it to the right kind of early. Okay, so we have made it to the very end, and the relief hit me once we did, and I was over 200, so I was good with this one. I was feeling pretty settled. I was lucky that that held. Again, that one went pretty straight up the lane and left of where I wanted it to be. So that one I kind of dropped it onto the lane. Sent it kind of slow as well, and I ended up paying the price for that. But for me personally, it didn't matter because I put up another good 600 series. Not nearly as good as week 20, but still, it's another 600 series. That's a win. Alright, so here's the summary for week number 21. So game 1, we started with the 204, game 2, 203, and game 3, we managed to end it pretty well with the 233, all for a series total of 640. So not nearly as good as last week, but still pretty good. Yeah, the series required to raise my average is 610. We did that, so mission accomplished, I guess, and the pin total after week 21 is now 12,693 after 63 games played. We now move to a 201 average after being 200 last week. So we're getting it back up, guys. We're getting that average back up. This is good. So that whole thing that I talked about with the ball observation thing, still working, but I still feel like, you know, after this performance, it still definitely needs some work, and I definitely didn't do as good because there were a lot of shots in there that with the urethane ball miss left, I guess, because you guys saw there were several shots in there where I sent the ball straight up the lane, and I was lucky that I even got hold. Um, there were probably like one or two shots in there where I missed to the right early and the ball went through the nose or went high and left the four. And then when I was using that proton physics, that was probably the worst of it. I would either miss left, and I think there was a lot of missing to the right. And then the unfortunate mishap of me having my fingers swell up and, dropping the ball, when I had the fate. So, but still, on this night, my ability to observe, well, my ball observation skill was actually pretty good. It was the part of being able to use that to help me execute shots. That was the problem. So I feel like that needs some work. But other than that, still pretty good. And I just hope that I could go into week 22 doing a lot better. And hopefully that problem that I have of being able to execute shots and being able to use my ball observation skill to help me repeat shots. I hope that that will improve going into week 22 and beyond that. So I'm Frank the Tank. That was week 21, and I will see you guys in week number 22.